And the reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last weekend.
Yeah, they have nothing else to...
Whoopi Goldberg was sitting in her usual seat on The View, speaking confidently and sharing her strong opinions. But what started as a normal day took an unexpected turn. Charlie Kirk, the founder of Turning Point USA, didn't have to be in the studio to shake things up. From his own platform, he made a powerful statement that caught everyone's attention. With just a few pointed words, Charlie brought up something people had quietly questioned for a while, that The View's success might not be as solid as it seems. Suddenly, Whoopi's usual calm and confidence started to slip. The tension grew when Whoopi grouped thousands of young students with protesters outside a Turning Point event. She later tried to apologize gently, but the damage was already done. Charlie refused to accept her apology and made his feelings clear in a fiery video that quickly went viral. He said, "The real question isn't if I accept it. Do the students accept it?" He continued, "These were 16 and 17-year-olds. They traveled from across the country and were accused of being tied to something hateful just because Whoopi said so."
Of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept The View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there, of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country, that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo-Nazis.
Charlie Kirk's anger felt real and hit a nerve. Whoopi's usual confident attitude finally had a strong challenger, not from someone in the studio but from someone online. Charlie didn't even need to show up in person, yet his message spread louder than anyone expected. As people online started supporting Charlie's side, Whoopi found herself in an unusual spot defending herself. The studio no longer felt like a safe space, and the crowd wasn't as eager to clap. Her apology on the show sounded like she was just reading something prepared, trying to calm down a situation that was already out of control. But Charlie didn't let it go. He said they had to threaten legal action just to get an apology. And yes, he added, lawyers were still involved. This wasn't just a TV moment anymore, it had become a full-on battle. Viewers were shocked. Did The View really speak badly about 5,000 students? Did Whoopi go too far? The questions kept coming and the anger kept growing. While Whoopi tried to explain, Charlie calmly listed facts. Every point he made hit hard, shaking the carefully built image of the show. He talked about the arrogance of the hosts and how they quickly judge people. Just because someone didn't go to college, he said, doesn't mean they're stupid. And working people are tired of being looked down on. Clips of Charlie's response spread fast. They popped up everywhere on Reels, TikTok, and YouTube, becoming a wildfire across the internet.
Welcome back. You know, in Monday's conversation about Turning Point USA, I put the young people at the conference in the same category as the protesters outside. And I don't like it when people make assumptions about me, and it's not any better when I make assumptions about other people, which I did. So, my bad. I'm sorry.
Okay.
So, the state...
Look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go, because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away.
Whoopi's words had been recorded, but Charlie's proof was hard to ignore. He wasn't yelling or angry. He was calm, focused, and used clear facts. And that's what made it so powerful, because it was working. People started watching clips from The View again, but with fresh eyes. They noticed things they hadn't before: contradictions, unfair double standards, and a smug tone that had been passed off as wisdom. The safe bubble around the show was starting to pop. One person online said, "I never even watched The View, but now I see why people stopped." Another asked, How was she allowed to say that on TV and not face any consequences? The internet had changed everything. This wasn't just about Charlie versus Whoopi anymore. It was about millions of viewers waking up and seeing the show in a different light, and they didn't like what they saw. Charlie's video didn't just call out Whoopi. It broke the idea that she and the other hosts couldn't be questioned. For once they weren't controlling the story. They were stuck in it. As the online fire grew, Whoopi tried to move on, but something in the studio had shifted. Her voice was still strong, but it had lost that untouchable feel. Everyone could sense it. She sat in her usual spot, trying to look confident, but her eyes told a different story. Inside, she was under pressure. Even when she read her new statement saying the neo-Nazis were just protesters outside and not part of Turning Point, the damage was already done. People didn't believe her. Neither did Charlie. Charlie's calm breakdown wasn't just sharp. It was brutal. He didn't yell or attack. He just used the truth. And the truth spoke louder than any argument. One by one, the false claims fell apart. The idea that Turning Point welcomed hate groups was crushed. The claim that 5,000 students were involved in something hateful was disproven in seconds.
You let them in and you knew what they were. Right. So you are complicit. I want to make a quick clarification about the neo-Nazi Turning Point event. They were outside protesters. My point was more metaphorical, that you embraced them at your thing, I felt.
The worst part for Whoopi wasn't what Charlie said, it was the silence from her own side. The clapping slowed down, the smiles faded, and even the producers didn't seem sure when to move to the next segment. When Whoopi looked off camera, she didn't see the usual supportive nods. There was nothing. Just the heavy feeling of her own mistake echoing louder than any applause. One commentator said you could feel it. The way she looked at the camera, like she was waiting for approval that never came. That's what happens when the image starts to fall apart. Charlie didn't back down. He stayed calm and said, this wasn't just careless. It was dangerous. He criticized them for throwing around serious accusations like they didn't matter. He added, we're still looking at legal action. You can't just smear thousands of students and act like it never happened. At that point, Whoopi's apology didn't just feel awkward, it felt pointless. The table on The View, once known for strong opinions and unity, now felt divided. Even the usual laughs between segments felt forced and slow, like everyone was unsure of what to say next. The audience picked up on it too. Online comments came pouring in. That apology was weak, she's only sorry because she got caught. People weren't just siding with Charlie, they felt like he had exposed everything. It wasn't just about what was said, it was about what had been hidden. The spotlight that once made Whoopi shine now revealed every flaw, every contradiction, every careless comment she thought people would forget. The segment that was supposed to end the backlash only made people ask more questions. What else had the show gotten wrong? Who else had they wrongly blamed? Whoopi had built her role in the media around confidence and being the boldest voice in the room. But now that voice shook and viewers noticed. Charlie had shown that you don't need to be on a big stage to make a big impact.
Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. But I said this to our team. I said working people, the muscular class, including working women, they are so in favor of Trump, and they don't want to be called stupid or uneducated.
All it took was truth timing and a Wi-Fi connection. The impact Charlie made was still being felt on every screen. For Whoopi, the hardest part wasn't the apology, it was what came after. The tone of the show changed. Her delivery seemed unsure. It started to feel like the power of the show was slipping away. Even longtime fans began to question what they used to accept without thinking. One viewer asked, "Have they always talked like this about people?" Another said, "Why didn't we notice this before?" The spell had been broken. The View, once seen as untouchable, had been exposed, and now everyone could see it. Charlie's attack worked not because he shouted, but because he was sharp. He used logic like a knife, cutting through the noise with precision. What followed was a quiet breakdown happening in real time. But it was too late to fix. The damage was done, And more people were noticing each day. Charlie said this is about respect. These students don't deserve to be accused of hate just because of where they go to learn. His message wasn't just clear, it exploded across the internet. And it wasn't only conservatives backing him. Even some neutral viewers spoke up saying, "He has a point." That's when it became clear that things were really shifting, when people in the middle started to agree. The View tried to move on to new topics in the days that followed, but the energy had changed. The laughter felt fake. The smiles looked forced. The show had lost its rhythm. The audience didn't forget, not this time. The silence after Whoopi spoke grew longer. The crew had to work harder to get the applause going. Everything felt different. Even Whoopi's usual passion sounded more like she was reading lines than speaking from the heart. Her words felt like echoes of past confidence, not the real thing. Behind the scenes, things weren't smooth either. Some producers thought the situation had been handled badly. Others blamed Whoopi for not taking back her comments sooner. And some just wanted the controversy to go away. But the internet wasn't finished. New videos kept popping up, breaking down every second of Whoopi's apology, her expressions, her tone, even her body language.
Florida this weekend. And the liberal panel just couldn't help themselves. The group sent a scathing cease and desist letter after hosts on The View suggested that Turning Point had embraced neo-Nazis who showed up outside the event.
Don't want to say too much, but we're going to have a lot of fun at the Department of Education. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Can I tell you something? Like, I've had quite a few people contact me about that particular post. Like, I'm sure I have 1/100th of what you're getting, but people are contacting me about cabinet posts. I'm like, I got
look,
nothing.
I mean, I'm actually, after this conversation, heading to Mar-a-Lago for a week, and we have a lot to sift through, and if I could be helpful, I have asked. I want to be actively involved in all things education, as you can imagine.
It turned into a digital breakdown of a media disaster. People online were saying things like, "She didn't even seem sorry." You could tell Whoopi thought the whole thing would just pass, but it didn't. It blew up and left damage that couldn't be ignored. Meanwhile, Charlie Kirk kept doing his show like nothing had happened. He stayed calm and didn't brag or raise his voice. He just kept speaking clearly and let the facts speak for themselves. He didn't just point fingers, he pulled back the curtain and showed how the system really worked. And once people saw it, they couldn't unsee it. It wasn't the end of The View, but it was the start of something changing. When people stop clapping out of habit, the whole act starts to fall apart. Whoopi's downfall wasn't a single big moment. It was a slow, steady fall that millions watched happen. No one took her power, it just faded away with every question she couldn't answer. She didn't cry or yell, but the silence said everything. The kind of silence that shows up when you've run out of defenses. That silence was louder than any speech. Each new episode of The View became a risk. Would Whoopi bring it up again? Would someone mention the backlash? Or would they keep pretending nothing happened behind the scenes? Things got tense. Trust in Whoopi started to slip. Meetings were tighter. Every segment was checked twice. There was less freedom and more fear of going viral for the wrong reason again. Charlie didn't chase the spotlight. He didn't rub it in. He just kept.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding.
Disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
The world of polished speeches and bright studio lights finally hit a wall it couldn't avoid. Whoopi's apology wasn't the end, it was the start of a bigger problem. Now everything the host said would be watched closely, questioned, and replayed. There was no more automatic cheering, just people paying attention. For Whoopi, the hardest part was that this didn't happen because of a big scandal or falling ratings. It happened because one person pressed record and the internet took over. She didn't crash all at once, it was more like slowly sinking into an uncomfortable truth. She kept talking and hosting, but the spark she once had seemed to fade. This wasn't just another TV moment, it was a turning point. People started watching and listening differently. No more trusting the show without thinking. No more power that went unchallenged. In the weeks that followed, Whoopi still looked into the camera, and even though she didn't cry, her eyes showed something had changed. There was a fear of another viral moment, another calm takedown, another moment where logic hit harder than words. Charlie Kirk had done what few people can do. He made a daytime talk show feel the impact without even stepping foot on the set. No stage lights, no makeup, no TV crew. Just clear facts and confidence. And that's what people remembered, not the old applause Whoopi used to get, but the silence that came when the truth came out. So the next time Whoopi tries to deliver a strong opinion or make a bold statement, the audience won't forget. They'll remember the day someone calmly said, "Prove it." And everything changed. It wasn't a loud fight. It was a quiet hit that landed hard. A simple sentence that lasted longer than any headline and hit deeper than any round of applause. Whoopi is still on The View, but something shifted the day Charlie Kirk fought back, not with anger, but with facts.